So before the break, we were talking about, having your kids at home and doing those things and all the stuff there. Kevin, I wanted to come to you on that because I know you had talked to me before about Zion and having those conversations and having those with his friends and guys that are coming around because you're working out with them and keeping him in shape. What has that been like for you to get that experience, even though you want him to go to school and have that experience as well, being home and being able to counsel him and you guys bounce things off of each other?
I probably need to Google who said that no man knows what's a blessing and what's a curse. But a wise man said it a long time ago because, and it's true because, him being home right now is the safest place. Like you said earlier, Mad Dog. I mean, having your kids close, but what people don't know and what people out there within the sound of my voice need to understand, living with the reality of having to deal with having to know how to deal with the police in that way. And, and that's just one small part of, racism in general. I mean, we could spend all day diagramming, and I'm not going to go down the individual ways that, racism exists, but I've raised Zion with that awareness. You know what I'm saying? Like as a Black man in America, you have to have that awareness. As a man of color and a large Black man, you definitely better be aware that people are aware of your size. My son,
your presence when you show up.
Yeah, my son was a 15. Yeah. Look, listen. Okay, I'm going to give you one scenario, and I'll shut up. I'll give you the mic back.
No, go ahead. That's why we're here.
My thing is this, man. I had a 15-year-old who was a ninth grader. He was 6'5". He was 200 pounds. He's a big kid. No, he was when he was 15. He was probably about 185 pounds. He was a lanky, tall kid, but big kid. But I had to make him aware because by the time he was 16 years old, he was 6'6" and over 200 pounds. Okay. When he graduated high school, he was 235 pounds and he was 6'7". Okay. He had to know that when he encounters anyone outside of my home, they are not encountering a 17-year-old kid. He is a 6'7", 235 pound Black man. And that's what he had to be aware of. And that's what he had to know. The fact that he has to be aware of that in America, the fact that I have to be aware of my size when I'm in a public place because of how I make people feel. I mean, all those things rolled into one, man. Right now, yeah, I'm glad that he's home so that I can have those discussions. We can talk out, all those different things that have happened, how we're going to proceed, our game plan. You have one game plan as far as the university, you got another game plan as far as, the football programs at these different colleges, but we have another game plan just as Americans. We have another game plan as Black Americans. We have another game plan completely that has to do with the global pandemic. So there's a whole lot going on and, blessings and curses. I'm glad that he's home right now because I have that little bit more time of extended parenting that I think, would do my heart good because, of course, he ain't going to stay home. You know what I'm saying? The first chance he gets when this thing lifts, man, he's gone, So, and you know how boys are, Hardy, Mad Dog, they fly the coop and get out. So, so I'm thankful that he's home right now.
Hey, guys, one thing, too, when Kevin was talking about that, we all are pretty large men. We walk in a room, there's a presence that you have as an African-American man, whether you play football, whether you are, whatever it is you do. We just happen to be fortunate, all of us, to do that. But the other question is, it's interesting to see so many young guys at different places, at Florida State, at Oklahoma State, at Iowa, at Texas, at, all these schools all across the country, finding their voice. Tell me, Mad Dog, I'm gonna come to you on this one because whether you're in the NFL or college football, we always had guys that would speak up. There would be guys in the locker room that would speak up. But this time there's a unifying force between these young men, whether they're in college. I've even seen it in high school, but college and pros is really where I want to look. And since you've been a strength coach for years, Hardy, you were a college football coach. You were a football coach in the National Football League. Kevin, you've been around this game. But, Coach, I wanted to come to you because I know you have seen this. What's been the difference with these young men versus what we would have to do when we were coming up and guys that you worked with in the past?
Well, the climate is what makes the voice even so much more stronger, you know, and the fact that these kids aren't putting up with crap, you know, and things that we did and we had to listen to when we worked, they're not listening to it. You know, my son said, you know, Dad, you know, you did a great job. We honor you and everything you've done. But the bottom line is they don't like the history of things, you know, and the fact that the history is seen still every single day, it irritates them. You know, it used to be like when I was at Texas and some of the other schools that we had the councils and the committees that if a kid had a problem with something, he'd bring it to that. We handle it, take it to the head coach or to the athletic director or the president or whatever, and we went as a committee, as a group to do it. These kids now, you know, as shown in the past few weeks, you know, they have enough power that they say, I'm not playing. I am not going to represent this university as long as this, and this is going on. You know, as long as there's injustice here, as long as things happen on campus. I went to Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee, you know, and I went in late 70s, you know, and to the early 80s. And that was Tennessee. You know, my first week of football practice, the Klan walked down the middle of Main Street, you know, and I was scared to death because I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, you know, and they told me if you go down south to one of them schools, they're going to get you, dog. They're going to get you, you know, so it scared you to death when you see it. And then you see it, you know, and there's hundreds and hundreds of people walking down the street, you know. I stayed up on the 5th floor and stayed there, you know, so I have an understanding of how that felt, you know, but nowadays with these kids, they're bonding together and people are backing them up. And I think most of it came from, I'm not gonna say all of it, most of it came from watching the death. You know, when George Floyd went down and the officer postured himself over top of him like a lion on top of his prey, and he had his hands in his pocket, you know, and he was alternating his weight from left to right to put more and more pressure on the neck and more pressure on, so he couldn't breathe, you know, and just the arrogance of it and looking at it, you know, like, yeah, I did this, you know, what you gonna do? You know, I think that made a huge difference in these kids. And that's one main one I hear him talk about. I hear him talking about Breonna and the no knock, you know, busting the door down and shooting. And the one cop was shooting from the street. He shot 10 times in a house, had no idea who was in there or what was going on. You know, so there's a lot of things that, you know, go on. The guys, I'm losing my thought pattern right here, but when the guy was running down the street and one guy was following him and they ended up shooting
Ahmaud Arbery.
Ahmaud Arbery, they shot at him, and then when they got up on him, they put a couple 12 gauges in him. You know, I mean, that's ridiculous. You know, and when these kids see that, these kids don't want to be that particular person, because like I said, you know, when it goes, I am Ahmaud Arbery, you know, I am Breonna Taylor, you know, and you put the I am in front of those folks' names that lost their lives. I mean, it could be any one of those kids at any time, and those kids realize that, you know, so that's why I think they got even more power to step up. You know, I watched my guy, Boyer, who's the Army Ranger that went with Kaepernick. When Cap took his knee, you know, he was one of them to say, hey, man, you know, take a knee instead of sitting on your butt when the national anthem's being played. So, I mean, that's a whole nother conversation, you know, but I was proud of him for going out there and getting a relationship, standing there with his Army Ranger outfit on to say, hey, this guy's not disrespecting the American flag. He's not disrespecting everybody that has, you know, fought for this country. You know, he understands that. He's just trying to bring attention to, you know, police brutality.
Hey, Doug, I'm glad you brought that up because, Hardy, you were in the league. I think you missed Cap at San Francisco by but you were still in the league during that time. So that's one piece that you have. You also have a son in Hardy who played college ball and now in the NFL. Tell us a little bit about that and from your perspective and being a counsel to those young men that you've had, whether it's college football, NFL, or whether it's your son who's a football player.
I think the biggest thing for me in terms of dealing with the youth and my son and my daughters as well is listening and hearing them out. Hear them talk about the pain that they're feeling behind what they're seeing, and then taking that and then helping them find ways to express themselves and whatnot. Going back to what Mad Dog said, for these young guys, and young kids out there today, social media is big. The social media is giving our youth a platform to express themselves, and they have taken to it, and with shooting the videos to getting their thoughts out there, and that's been huge. That's something that we didn't have in our generation.
Right.
Who knows? Of course, someone had a camera when Rodney King was beaten by police, but to see it video from the whole incident with you see Aubrey Ahmaud Arbery gunned down. You see the cops sitting on George Floyd. You see that, and then you have reactions to that immediately with people expressing their disgust. It's disgusting seeing that cop sitting on George Floyd's neck. Disgusting. And so having
it is.
Just being those ears to hear it, and then helping them process what they've seen and helping them express themselves.
Yeah, that's spot on. And Kev, I want you to spin that a little bit forward, because I think also too, if you think about it, we don't always think about it from the female perspective, but you and your wife, we all, we're all married here, but you and Shima having conversations with Zion about this, and what we talk so much about the young men or the young women that are both caught up in this with police brutality, but just from the perspective of our wives and mothers and folks like that, how does that relate to you and when you think about this?
Oh, when I think of my wife, in that perspective, she's probably like any woman, like any mom, like like all of our moms and aunts and grandmas and everything else. Probably the fiercest voice is your mom or your wife or your aunt or your grandma, and for me that's no exception. Her voice is, she's a social worker by trade, so and that's what she does now. She works for Children's Home Society, and she counsels family and kids, and she's a social worker, and it's really heavy lifting when it comes to helping with helping people manage, and Department of Children Family Services and stuff like that. I mean, this is the heavy lifting in our society. This is trying to make our society better from a social justice fight. So her perspective is one of very in tune with who we are, and also not just what we've seen. Obviously, what we've seen is very graphic and very violent, but also that social work talks about the integrating systems, right? It's not just one thing. There are so many things that are that are interwoven and overlapping that are the cause of problems. And from her perspective, there are some things that are very simple, and there are some things that are very absolute. Like, talking about, I guess it was a big deal, I guess, in that community that racism was declared a social emergency. You know, it was a social emergency because it alters the way we perceive people. It alters what we do, how we shop, where we go. You know, it affects our relationship with the authority that's in place, with the police. And now when those atrocities get unearthed and everyone sees it, and now everyone's outraged, and so it affects the balance. You know, there's so many things pulling. Like I said before, first thing I said was, you know, there's one thing over here and there's another thing over here, but you know, and I think the problem has gotten so complex, you know, from that perspective. So I'm lucky to have her, because she has a very calming voice that kind of cuts through and is able to help make sense of that. And I'm thankful that, you know, again, that she's there as well, because our son, you know, how else is he going to know how to go back into this new world, into this new norm that we're all living in, you know, from a pandemic standpoint and also from a race relations standpoint as well. And like you said, Mad Dog, I mean, you know, and you said it too, Hardy, you know, our kids are different, you know, and and I think because they didn't see so much of that brutality, it's almost like it took a break for a little while, you know, and you know, we were distracted by, you know, hating people that were in the Middle East, and, you know, and we got distracted with different things, and there were different things going on in the world. But I think, you know, that perspective of your wife, your mom, your grandma, that's one of the most valuable perspectives there is, because those are the people that, you know, that will fight for you, you know, probably the hardest of anyone I know anyway.
Yeah, I mean, it's great, guys, hearing that from all of you guys. Before we go to break, I just have to think about my mother and my wife. And my wife was real good about telling me, you know, understand what happens to you guys and the fight that you have, but think about those that don't get to come home, and the mothers and the aunts and the grandmothers and the cousins, the females that have lifted us up, that have been lioness while we've been cubs. So that's the part for us when we think about this, the brutality of it and how it is against our women. We need to be as strong for them as they've been for us for all these years. So we'll take a short break at Chopping It Up with Buck. We'll be right back.
How you guys doing? It's Artavius Scott here. The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. Go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get your drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, if I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash. Thin Energy.
Many people are looking for natural alternatives to help ease their aches and pains. Begin stopping the pain with the help of Pain Stopper. Formulated by healthcare providers, Pain Stopper helps alleviate a variety of physical ailments so you can get back to doing what you love. Our products are triple independently lab tested to ensure the highest quality hemp available. Visit painstopcbd.com for more information. Pain Stopper, because why manage pain when you can stop it?
How you guys doing? It's Artavius Scott here. The reason why I like Thin Energy is because I need to be at my peak performance no matter what I do. Big sports drink for me, you know, keep it going, keeping myself up. It gets me on top of my game, extra boost that I need to keep it going in the fourth quarter. Working out, definitely a good drink for you to have. All the good nutrition that you need inside of it. Passion fruit, it's my favorite one. It's not just for professional athletes, it's for everyone. And I definitely can say it definitely works in the office or in the weight room, wherever you may be. Go to thinenergy.com, tell them I sent you, and get you a drink. Thin Energy, the healthy alternative. Drink it, live it. See, if I got something like that, I can just go.
No sugar, no crash.